And now let's directly go to the next speaker, who is Theres Prantner from the Austrian government, who will provide us information about their experience with the Istanbul Convention, as Austria was one of the first countries to ratify the Istanbul Convention and one of the first countries who undertook the area monitoring process. So the floor is yours, and thank you again for coming today.
Dobry den, also from Google, I hope. It is a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation to your lovely city and to share opinions on this important issue today. A few words on my person. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I've been working for over 15 years now for the Directorate for Women and Equality within the Federal Chancellery of Austria, and I'm head of the National Coordination Body on Violence Against Women that was established after ratification of the Istanbul Convention. In my presentation, I would like to give very shortly say a few words on the history, Austrian history with the Istanbul Convention. Then I would like to outline the legal implications of the Istanbul Convention, then turn to the main benefits we see the Istanbul Convention has, and why we strongly support also ratification of the EU by the European Union. And then I will end by outlining the impact the Convention had so far in Austria. So a few words. You all know the Istanbul Convention has been signed in 2011, and Austria has been among those countries who first signed the Convention. 2.5 years later, we ratified the Convention, and we were also the first, among the first two countries to be evaluated under the Convention. And Marceline Nodin was one of the two rapporteurs of Grevio to evaluate Austria. And we survived.
You did well. You survived well.
And I will come to the results of the evaluation procedure later on. So what are the legal implications of the Istanbul Convention? The reason why I'm saying a few words on this is because I realize that there are many fears concerning the Istanbul Convention and what effects the ratification of the Istanbul Convention might have on your country. So I looked up another convention you already have signed, and this is the Convention on Human Rights, and I want to compare because that the Convention on Human Rights you have signed already, and that actually comprises a lot more obligations, severe obligations, because the Istanbul Convention is not applicable directly in national law, so you have to introduce it into national law. It is not granting a right to individuals to put a petition, and there is not a court, an international court like the Court on Human Rights, that would do a judgment on your country, as is the case with the Human Rights Convention. So the reason why I'm saying that is to take fear from you that you might be forced to do things that can't be, to introduce measures that are not, can't be supported by your society. So it's softer, for example, than the Convention on Human Rights, but at the same time, I want to emphasize the many benefits the Istanbul Convention has and why we strongly support the Istanbul Convention. So one point that has been dealt with already quite thoroughly today is that the Istanbul Convention has a holistic approach. It covers a broad range of areas that are necessary to be tackled when dealing with violence against women. So you have got, I won't go into detail because this has been covered thoroughly today. So, and by doing so, the Convention holds the chance to set a common aim and to the common target to reach European standards concerning violence, the fight against violence against women. The second main benefit we see is that the Convention and the monitoring mechanism puts violence against women on the political agenda and keeps it there. And this is very important because you need awareness of the issue. You have been provided with data on violence against women. Every single country in Europe has a big problem with violence against women, and it is not a problem that can be solved quickly and immediately. So awareness that there is a big problem is the first step. And the Convention and the evaluation mechanism will help to keep it in public awareness, to keep it on the political agenda, and by doing so, to push forward improvement. It makes the problem and keeps the problem visible. And thirdly, the monitoring mechanism of the Istanbul Convention gives the chance to get an outside view on what by an expert team. So this allows to recognize blind spots. Every country has blind spots. And it allows to learn from each other, because every country has specific measures, and there are differences in all countries, and they are best. Some things work better than others, and it is also a chance to learn from experiences other countries have, to see what works well, and to follow those best practice examples. So also by that, improvement is supported. And these are the reasons why Austria has signed the Convention, and why it strongly supports the Convention, and why it also strongly supports EU ratification of the Convention. And as you all know, Austria has the presidency of the Council presidency at the moment, and ratification of the Convention by the European Union is of a high priority under Austria's presidency. And well, we are happy that we succeeded to reach by now agreement on the technical level. We are not so happy that it was not yet possible to reach agreement on the political level. It was mentioned that a few countries still are opposed to EU ratification, but there is dialogue, and we are still optimistic that even those countries that still are not decided will be won over. So, and we very much hope that your country will support EU ratification. Because this signing and well, it has been signed already by the European Union, but ratification would also mean a clear sign of the importance of this issue within Europe, and that it is a common aim, a common fight, and a common commitment. So that's why we think it is important, well, on a symbolic level, but naturally also on the practical level. And now I will come to my last point. What is the impact of the Istanbul Convention in Austria so far? Well, we had, in implementing the Istanbul Convention, we had changes of criminal law. We have implemented the national coordination body I've been mentioning already within the Directorate of Women and Equality. And the first task of that national body, coordination body, was actually the coordination of the baseline evaluation under the Istanbul Convention. And this baseline evaluation was ended by recommendations by the Committee of Parties. And I will shortly say what, summing up what these recommendations are and what the effects are. So the recommendations, well, there were more in detail, but I tried to sum them up, not to make it too long for you. So one more minute. Okay, it's a comprehensive strategy. That Austria needs a comprehensive strategy. That we need to improve our support system for victims. That we need to improve data collection, and that we should introduce exceptions for diversionary measures. This is I won't go into detail on this issue, but what I want to say is that the first three recommendations we agreed, and we said yes, we will try our best along our resources and priorities to improve on these issues. Whereas on the fourth issue, our experts have actually a different opinion on the Grevy opinion. So it's also possible to have a different opinion on single issues. And by the time, in 3 years' time, we are requested to report again to Grevy on how we implemented the recommendations and to the Committee of Parties. And we will then explain why we are of a different opinion on this single issue. But overall, we took up most of the recommendations as very much justified, and we will try to improve on these issues. So, summing up, we consider the Istanbul Convention as a very important instrument to improve measures on violence against women, to achieve common European standards. And this is also the reason why we actually, seeing the debate in your country, I'm rather astonished that you have this strong, like fake news also, I would name it, because in our country, in Austria, actually from the right-wing party to the left-wing party, there was strong support of the convention and also by the Catholic Church. So I'm rather astonished about some of the fears that have been voiced in the debate in your country. And I hope that these words will take the fear that Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic could be forced to introduce measures that are against what can be supported by your society. So, thank you for your attention.